I can guarantee you that when our firefighters showed up on that day with what they had, they did absolutely everything they could do to rescue and to save people's lives and property.
Before we get into today's video, I just want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all have had a wonderful week. I hope if anybody is in California that you are doing okay, or if you have loved ones there or friends there, or even if you live nearby and you're dealing with all the smoke and the ash. So I'm pretty sure that by now, most everybody knows about these very destructive fires that have been blazing and going on in California. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of opinions of things that's been going on around it. We're going to talk about some of the things that have contributed to these fires, people that have been arrested, different theories, even by people who are famous and who lived there. And we're just going to go over a lot of different things today. Before we go any further, I would like to stop and thank today's sponsor, Hungry Root. Listen, when it comes to grocery shopping, I have got this problem. I will buy a bunch of things that I do not need that just end up rotting in my refrigerator, and then I end up wasting money. But now that I'm using Hungry Root, it is like having my own personal shopper and my own personal nutritionist. Each and every week, you can enjoy a curated selection of groceries that are tailored to your taste and your dietary preferences. From vibrant vegetables to lean proteins, and my personal favorite, the little items that I would have never thought to try before. Every ingredient is hand-picked for quality that ensures that you will only receive the best. You get stuff that are anti-inflammatory, good for the gut, gluten-free, dairy-free, high protein, all kinds of vegan and veggie options, and so much more. Hungry Roots deliveries also come with recipes that can be made in just 15 minutes or less, with over 15,000 recipes shipped out each and every week. There's literally something for every taste bud or every nutrition goal. And there's also no high fructose corn syrup, no artificial sweeteners or preservatives in any of Hungry Roots foods. They only source top quality seafood and meats that are free from hormones and antibiotics. So if you would like to try Hungry Root, well, today is the day, because you can take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, you can get 40% off of your first box plus a free item in every box for life. You just click the link down in the description box or go to hungryroot.com and use code Christina Randall. Yes, that's 40% off of your first box and a free item of your choice for life at hungryroot.com, and just use my code Christina Randall. Thanks again, Hungry Root. So y'all don't need me to go over a lot of the stuff about the fires, because I'm sure you probably know. But before we get into all of this, I want to let y'all know that everything in this video is alleged. I pull all of my information from very public news sources that is already out there. I'm not a professional. Go do your own research and form your own opinions. Just do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. But we're going to be going over a lot of opinions today, including mine. My opinion of everything will be at the end of the video, so stay to the end of the video if you want to know what I think. So, as of now, we all know that these fires started on January 7th of 2025 this year in the Los Angeles metropolitan area and the surrounding areas. Now, these fires were only made worse by the drought conditions, which means that it is very, very dry out there, and hurricane force Santa Ana winds that got to be over 100 miles per hour. And if any of y'all live in a place where there are high winds, maybe tornadoes or hurricanes like we get here in Florida, you know that 100-mile-an-hour winds they can be so destructive. And when you are talking about a fire and these huge wind gusts coming and just spewing these embers all over the place, awful. Now, as of me filming this on January 15th of 2025, 5 fires are actually still active, including the 2 largest fires, which are in the Palisades and the Eaton fire. But fortunately, out of 30 fires, 25 of them have now been controlled. The Palisades and the Eaton fires are likely the 4th and the 2nd most destructive fires in California's whole entire history. And some other contributing factors are the budget cuts for the Los Angeles Fire Department and the lack of water in the Santa Ynez Reservoir. The budget for the LAFD, which was one of the several fire departments fighting the fire, was reduced by $17.6 million for the year 2024 to 2025. Now, when asked, the LA Fire Chief, Kristen Crowley, said that the budget reductions adversely affected the department's ability to maintain core operations, that the $7 million reduction in overtime hours severely limited the department's capacity to prepare things and to train for and respond to these very large-scale emergencies. However, when the mayor was asked about these budget cuts and the effects that they had on the fire department, she said that there were no reductions that were made that would have impacted this situation, which seems like an answer. However, the mayor also said this.
Fire chiefs say that they're really stretched to the limit and running out of water. What have you got to say to that?
Me, okay?
Have you no response to that? Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up, boss? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today?
And as you can imagine, a lot of people that live in that area were pretty disappointed with that response, or lack of, I guess we could say. However, Kristen Crowley, the LA fire chief, came out publicly and criticized the city and their budget cuts.
When a firefighter comes up to a hydrant, we expect there's going to be water. We don't control the water supply. Our firefighters are there to protect lives and property and to make sure that we're properly trained and equipped. That's my position on this. So if there's no water, I don't know how the water gets to the hydrants. Please defer that to DWP or whomever controls that part. But I can tell you the resiliency of our firefighters, if there's no water, they're going to go find water. They're going to figure out a way to do the best they can with what they've got in a very dynamic situation, period.
Did the city of Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city?
It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say, justifiably, what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community.
Did they fail you?
That is our job, and I tell you, that's why I'm here. So let's get us what we need so our firefighters can do their jobs.
Did they fail you?
Yes.
Now, there were a ton of reports that were going around that fire chief that just said that got fired after that interview. However, it appears that maybe she wasn't. I'm actually wondering if she did get fired and then the backlash from the public, because allegedly, and this is all speculation, I don't know any of these people, but allegedly she went into a meeting with the mayor, and when she came out, she was crying and hugging people in the fire department and said that she was fired. But then it came out that she was not fired. So I wonder, was it a rumor? Was it not? I don't know. But allegedly, she's now not fired. Another contributing factor was this Santa Ynez Reservoir, which is actually 117 million gallons. You guys check this out. And it is part of LA's water infrastructure that is actually located in the Palisades. And it was completely emptied because of ongoing maintenance to repair a tear in its cover. This reservoir was supposed to start working again in February of this year. But because it was completely, well, pretty much empty, firefighters were not able to use water from it to put out the fires. This became critical when apparently the fire hydrants in the neighborhoods that were burning were losing pressure and running out of water. Firefighters were literally seen, you guys. I mean, these people are angels. They were seen using pool water to try to put out the fires.
So right now we're in Brentwood. This is part of the Palisades fire, and what we're seeing here in Mendable Canyon is the flames down there that you can see slowly making their way up the canyon. These firefighters throwing a lot of water on the hillside there to make sure that those flames don't reach this house. This is somebody's patio that we're on, one of multiple homes that are being threatened right now. But the firefighters so far successfully being able to keep these flames at bay. I can show you over here. They continue to spray water. You see the smoke rising there. And interestingly, they're actually taking water from a pool, an indoor pool that's right on the other side of that glass there. They're taking water from wherever they can get it. In this case, the homeowner's own pool water is being used to save his home.
And I cannot imagine this is what they do. They are firefighters. Okay, they risk their lives to save people, to put out fires, to help protect their communities. And they pull up to the fire and they go to the fire hydrants and there's no water in them. Like, how devastating to have to stand there and they're freaking out. They're trying to find anything and they're using pool water. I mean, oh my gosh. Now, potentially dangerous fires were predicted by the National Interagency Fire Center and the National Weather Service. The Storm Prediction Center specifically forecasted an extremely critical risk of fire weather for the dates the fires actually started. Imagine that. It's almost like being able to see a hurricane forming and preparing for it. Given these predictions, the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, warned residents of the potentially dangerous situation before she left the country for the inauguration of the president in Guana. California Governor Gavin Newsom stated at the time that he was delegating fire engines, helicopters, and workers to fight fires if they were to happen. And interestingly enough, there was no water. The area's electricity company even proposed to cut off power to some of the residents to prevent fires from starting from faulty equipment. But clearly, knowing what we know now, their efforts were just not enough to prevent people from losing basically everything that they owned in a complete blink of an eye. And sadly, 25 people have even lost their lives. Over 200,000 people have had to evacuate their homes, and more than 12,000 structures have been destroyed. In total, it is estimated right now that over 40,000 acres of land has burned. 40,000 acres of land. And when we're talking about 40,000 acres, we're not talking about 40,000 acres of trees. We're talking about trees and homes, people's history, their lives. There was even a fire tornado that was spotted, which honestly, you guys, I did not even know was a thing. I had no idea that a fire tornado was a thing. Look at this. I mean, how terrifying. Several celebrities' houses burned down in the fires as well. Celebrities like Paris Hilton, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Brady, Miles Teller, Tom Hanks, Brad Paisley, Mandy Moore, Heidi and Spencer Pratt, and Mel Gibson, whose house apparently burned down while he was literally filming for the Joe Rogan podcast, and so many more. However, Mel Gibson isn't seemingly convinced that these fires just started by chance.
He has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as why they do things. And then in the events like this, you sort of look, well, is it on purpose? Which, it's an insane thing to think. But one begins to ponder whether or not there is a purpose in mind. What could it be, I don't know. Do they want the state empty? I don't know. Reminds me of the old cattle barons clearing people off the land, But I don't know. I can make all kinds of horrible theories up in my head, conspiracy theories and everything else, but it just seemed a little convenient that there was no water, and and that the wind conditions were right, and that there are people ready and willing and able to start fires. And are they commissioned to do so, or are they just acting on their own volition? I don't know. But they seem pretty well equipped, some of these people that they're catching.
Now, of course, we are hearing from mainstream media that the fires started in this certain way. There are so many speculations of how the fires could have started online. I mean, people in homeless camps, or that Los Angeles has a huge, homeless community, unhoused community. Skid Row, all of that, okay? And there are a lot of people that believe that it could have been some people from these homeless camps because it was freezing at nighttime and they're trying to stay warm. However, the fact that the Los Angeles County Public Work Director, Mark Petrella, said this while giving a speech definitely did not help people's theories.
So I know what it takes. I know, I at least can say, I have deep feeling for you, and my first piece of advice to you is let's take care of our mental and physical health first before we embark upon what is going to be a journey to rebuild these communities back and rebuild them better than they were when we started this fire. Rebuild these communities back and rebuild them better than they were when we started this fire.
It has been reported that some of these fires were started by arsonists, specifically the Kenneth fire, where civilians detained a man who they believe was trying to start a fire. He was arrested by the LAPD, but was ultimately released. The LAPD claimed that they did not have enough probable cause to formally arrest the guy for arson.
At 4:32 p.m., we received a 911 call that a suspect was attempting to light a fire in the community of Woodland Hills and was being detained by residents. Officers from LAPD's Topanga area responded and took that suspect into custody. And once we learned that this suspect was a possible arson suspect, our Major Crimes Division responded to Topanga Division, along with Ventura County sheriffs, who was a lead in the Kenneth fire investigation. But they responded, they interviewed this suspect. After the interview and additional investigative steps, looking at some additional evidence that was present, they made the determination that there was not enough probable cause to arrest this person on arson or suspicion of arson. And therefore, this person was arrested on a felony probation violation.
Even as recently as the 14th, a local Topanga resident confronted a guy hiking alone in a fire zone.
How's it going? Huh? You're lost? Where are you trying to go? How can I help you?
Is there a trailhead nearby?
Where are you trying to go? I can help you get there. Where are you coming from?
Do you know a trail over by a neighborhood, like directly that way?
I know lots of trails. I live here. How can I help you? And where are you going and where are you coming from? What are you doing up here?
My son lives here.
Who's your son?
I'd rather not say.
Why?
I just don't think it's pertinent information.
Okay.
Is this close to travel or?
Yeah, it's definitely close to anybody. Like, it's close to people, yeah. If you don't live here, you're not supposed to be here right now. There's a curfew, and yeah, no, I mean, it's a little suspicious. I'm just gonna let you know that, you know? You're hiking around with a backpack in a fire zone, following a bulldozer who's the last man out of here, you know? It's a little suspicious, bro. What's in your backpack?
Basically traveling kit. Definitely not any like lighter fluid or anything of the sort.
If I come over there and I find lighter fluid, man, you're not gonna like how it ends, bro.
Unfortunately, some people took advantage of this devastating situation, and there have been so many reports of people looting evacuated houses. Some people have even asked, why would people loot burned down houses? But what was really happening was the looters were going in and ransacking evacuated homes and cars before they actually burned. And given this chaos, a lot of homeowners left valuable things behind. Some were not home when the evacuations were ordered, and so their houses were still full of all of their valuables. As a matter of fact, I saw some people online that said that people that lived in these homes, they've got Ring doorbells. So they're watching people go in, and there's nothing that they can really do about it because there's fires all around, and the cops are not going out and arresting people for that type of thing right now when they're over here trying to help maybe save a person or trying to figure out ways to get water, and it's just so much going on at once. However, some people have been arrested though, because more than 40 people have been charged in relation to looting during the fires. Reportedly, none of the people that were arrested actually lived in the evacuation zone where they were arrested in, so they were going out as opportunists. Some are said to have even been dressed as firefighters, which is bonkers. The looters were dressing up as firefighters, you guys. Wow. And it's also been reported that during the LA fires, LA area landlords raised the cost of the rent by more than 15 to 20%. This left people who had just lost their homes struggling to find a place to stay that they could actually afford. Now, California does have a price gouging law, which is supposed to prevent an increase of more than 10% during an emergency. Also, in the height of the firefighting, a drone that was illegally flying in a restricted airspace hit a super scooper firefighting plane that was working to try to put out the Palisades fire. This drone put a hole in the wing of the plane big enough to put it out of commission. The FBI is now searching for the person responsible for flying this drone. And now over a dozen residents have filed a lawsuit against the Los Angeles city government, accusing them of failing to prepare the reservoir we talked about earlier in the video. They say that the Los Angeles city government did not properly prepare for the wildfires, and they're demanding compensation for loss of property, loss of wages, and loss of business profits. It is currently estimated that there are over $20 billion in damages. And as you can imagine, people everywhere are absolutely hurting. A lot of people that are from Lahaina, if y'all remember the fires that happened there in Hawaii back in 2023, they're still hurting as well from the fires that devastated their area. I mean, as of just last year, 2024, and nobody really in the media was talking about Lahaina anymore, the locals were still living in hotels or wherever they could live because their homes and their property just very, very similar situation. Strong winds, fire that they seem to not know where they started, lots of theories of how they started, lots of questions. Even me, I have lots of questions. Their water was turned off. They weren't allowing people to come in. Just absolutely bonkers. And Joe Rogan had an opinion about how much money it would take to rebuild Lahaina versus how much taxpayer dollars here in the United States was possibly going other places.
All it would have taken is $5 billion. And they accidentally paid an extra $6 billion to Ukraine. They're like, don't worry, just a mistake. There's an accidental $6 billion.
What, to help Maui?
Yeah, rebuild entirely. So for $5 billion, everyone could have got their home back and everything could have been settled. And no, nothing's been done. Even if you are supporting the idea of sending money to Ukraine, I'm not arguing against that. I'm saying they accidentally sent $6 billion there, and no one cared. And they didn't send $5 billion to Maui.
Right.
And they could have.
We won't even get into the North Carolina situation and the fact that so many people there are still devastated from the hurricane that brought catastrophic floods. I mean, so many people are still sleeping in tents in this freezing cold right now. My opinion on all of this, unfortunately, the fires started. No matter how they started, again, many theories on how they started. A lot of people seem to think that these fires were started by somebody up or somebody down. A lot of people think there's a lot of different theories of how they started. No matter how they started, the main opinion that I have is there seems to be no excuse for there not being water or ways to try to put the fire out or to leave the fire department to fight this without water. I mean, literally, how horrific for them to get there and not have water. And according to the LA fire chief, they had no idea that there was not even like that they were going there and they knew. They were desperately working in this panic situation and they can't figure out why there's no water. Interestingly enough, California has the highest tax rates in the entire country. They collect more money from their citizens than any other state in the country. And even more so than that, California's economy is the 5th largest in the whole entire world. Yes, California brings in the 5th largest amount of money, or the economy is the largest in the entire world. It makes you wonder, where's all this funding going? But again, what do I know? I know that for the locals there, I cannot imagine how devastating it is when they go to work, they pay their tax dollars in. The tax dollars are meant for things like this, for these emergencies, for the fire department whose budgets are being drastically cut when they know that these fires are this type of situation in this area of the country. And then when it comes down to it, there's no water. Maybe the fires could not have been prevented, but there was nothing in place to help manage it at the time. That's the only opinion I have on it, is how horrific. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Other than that, thank y'all for watching this video. I hope y'all all have a wonderful weekend. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.